My name is Jim Goswick. We're here at Hopper Hill Ultralight Park near Mounds, Oklahoma, which is about 20 miles south of Tulsa. I've been in aviation quite a while. I'm 60 years old, but I've been around airplanes and aviation practically all my life. 17 years old, I joined the Air Force. I spent 20 years in the Air Force, and most of it as an aircraft mechanic. The last 8 years was as a flight engineer on C-124 type aircraft. And after retiring from the Air Force, I returned to the area here. And in the early 80s, I think 81, I got introduced to ultralight aircraft, and it's something that I really felt good about, and something that I really liked and really enjoyed. I've had several different type ultralight aircraft. I started out with a B model weed hopper, and went from there to a C model weed hopper. They were both Shodia powered, and later on we discovered that the Shodia engine wasn't quite what it was supposed to be, so most of the people re-engined their weed hoppers, which I did, and flew a great many hours in the C model weed hopper. And then along came this type bird here, and I was amazed at the performance that it had, and just decided that I had to have one. The thing I like about the Pterodactyl is its great performance. The ground run on it is normally 150 feet or less, and it's got a fantastic climb out rate. It's got plenty of power. It has one drawback, and that being it has to take off and land into the wind. If there is any significant wind, you have to take off and land into the wind. But it having such a short ground run and short landing roll, it really doesn't present much of a problem, because a lot of runways are wide enough you can take off across the runway if you want to. But the main thing is to know your limitations and know the limitation of the aircraft, know what it'll do and what you can do. And it's just a great all-around flying machine. It's very economical. It's really good on fuel consumption. I can fly this aircraft on 1.5 gallons an hour cross country. So I've got a lot better range than most people. It's a little bit slower than some of the other aircraft. Speed-wise, it's comparable, I guess, with a weed hopper, but ultralights aren't made to go fast anyway. And so if you want something to go fast, don't get an ultralight. Buy a Cessna. And but you won't have near as much fun in a Cessna as you have in a machine like this. Well, I think my success with the Cuyuna engine is mainly I don't try to get every last bit of performance out of it that you can by using smaller jets to lean your mixture to get a better power. To me, this is detrimental to the engine. If you can run the engine at a little less power, a little richer mixture setting, it's going to last a lot longer. And I mean, I think common sense would tell you that. You may have, by running a richer mixture, you may have to change plugs a little more often. You may have to decarbon a little more often, but you're gonna have a much longer engine life, and many more happy flying hours by doing this. And like I say, you're not flying an ultralight to go somewhere fast anyway. I think part of it's the pterodactyl design. It's a little cleaner design. It doesn't have as much drag as some of the other airplanes, and you can operate at a less power setting. Takeoff, your maximum RPM, I pull about 6,200 on takeoff, and but after takeoff, after I've cleared the field, cleared all the obstacles and cleared the field, I bring the power back a little bit at this point and use what I term climb power, which is something I learned in the Air Force as a flight engineer. We always took off at max power, reduced to climb power, and then after we reached altitude, reduced it further to cruise power. And so if I take off at 6,200 RPM, after I've cleared all the obstacles and established a climb, I come back to about 5,800 RPM and continue my climb. And when I level off, this airplane will cruise at 42 to 4,400 RPM, which anything else with a Rotax engine, it won't fly at that. I feel that it's a good engine. It has a lot to do with the way people operate them. This particular engine here and every one that I have, a Cuyuna engine, I run double head gaskets to lower the compression slightly, and run a single carburetor, and it works fine for me. I see people that they feel they have to have two carburetors to develop a little more power. They have to, nobody thinks about running double head gaskets. They want as much torque and as much power out of that engine as they can get. And then this puts it right up there. Your temperatures become critical, your mixture's critical, and you just make the engine more susceptible to failure by doing this. Most of the guys I talk to, they're always changing jets, trying to run a smaller jet to get just that extra ounce of power out of the engine, and at the same time they do this, their cylinder head temperature and exhaust gas temperature begin to rise, and this brings on engine seizures and so forth, whether it be this engine or a 28-cylinder 4360 radial. It's the same thing. You get them too hot, they're going to fail. And here you've only got two cylinders, so it puts you in a little more critical area. You've got to take care of this one a little bit better than where you've got 28 cylinders. I don't do anything special to the wing covering. This wing covering here is quite a few years old, but you'll notice it's still got good color. It's got lots and lots of strength left in it, and I think the main reason I don't do anything special to it. I have used AP303 on it a couple of times, but mainly I keep it in the hangar out of the direct sunlight at all times when I'm not flying. All I have to do is come out to the airport, pull my airplane out, and pre-flight it, and I'm ready to go. I don't have to set the aircraft up. And I think most people would enjoy flying a lot more. Everybody says, I want an airplane that I can fold the wings up on, hook onto it, and pull it home and put it in the garage. And that's fine, but for most people, they would enjoy flying more if they have a hangar where the aircraft is set up. They can go out anytime. It's set up, ready to fly. They can either pull it out and fly it, or they can perform maintenance. They can work on it. One other thing about keeping this airplane in the hangar set up and ready to fly versus taking it home and putting it in the garage is the possibility of when you assemble the aircraft to fly is forgetting something. You can have a checklist, and you can have somebody check you what you're doing, but there's always the possibility of not having a pin fully inserted, or not having a compression strut fully assembled, or numerous other things that can happen. But if you keep it set up in the hangar, ready to fly, all you got to do is bring it out. This doesn't keep you from doing a pre-flight. You still have to do your pre-flight, but inherently you're going to have fewer problems this way than taking it home and bringing it out and setting it up from scratch, because there is always the possibility that you'll forget something. And hope this never happens, and it shouldn't happen, but yeah, everybody knows Murphy's Law. If it can happen, it will. There's always the possibility too, putting excessive wear on the airplane by assembling and disassembling. You've got steel bolts going through aluminum tubing for most of the assembly, and every time you pull that steel bolt out, it's got threads on it, you've got the possibility of enlarging your holes through your tubing, and it makes excessive wear, which you don't have if it's set up and ready to go all the time. I like the ultralight regulations as they stand. I believe that we can have a safe, viable flying machine at 254 pounds or less. This aircraft right here, it's a very unconventional looking aircraft. I grant you, some people refer to it as a flying machine or a Flintstone machine, but it does a great job, and I feel that it's safe, and I have no problem with the weight limitations, or as far as that goes, any of the other regulations that we fly by. People keep saying the ultralight aviation industry is unregulated, and that's not true. We have a good set of regulations provided by the FAA. It tells us what an ultralight is. We've got a weight limitation, a speed, a fuel quantity, one person, one passenger, no passengers, one person operating this aircraft, and I like it. I think the regulations are good, and I would like to see them stay exactly as they are now. The people that want to fly what they term a fat ultralight, and there's no such thing as a fat ultralight. If it's too fat and it's too heavy, it's not an ultralight. And you hear people talking about you can't determine what an ultralight is. They'll say, well, it's one that flies slow and it's colorful and so forth, you know. But if you get down to basics, an ultralight is regulated, and I think the people that want a heavier aircraft, an aircraft that'll fly faster, the program is already there. It's called the Experimental Aviation, the EAA. If you want a faster aircraft, or you can build one. If you don't want to build it, you can buy one that somebody else has built, and you can fly as fast as you want to, as far as you want to, with as much fuel as you want to, and but you'll have to have a pilot's license, and that's fine too. I think under those conditions you should have one. And while we're talking about license, you don't have to have a license to fly an ultralight airplane, but you certainly need training. A lot of people assume that you can go out and buy one of these and jump in it and fly it. They're easy to fly and you won't have any problems. But if you don't get the proper training, you're going to have problems. Believe me. Bureaucrats in Washington and within the FAA and other parts of aviation, they all want to, seem like they all want to get their hand in it and tell us what we can or can't do. And we know what we can do and what we can't do because we're regulated already. And we've got the freedom right now to choose what type aircraft we want to fly, what part of aviation we want to be in. And this is my end of it right here. This is my recreation, and this is my enjoyment, and I'm just like anybody else. I don't want somebody telling me what to do, because I feel like I'm a responsible individual. I fly responsibly, and I think anybody that does can take one of these ultralight aircraft, and if he flies it the way he should fly it, and flies it when he should be flying it, and he knows his limitations, knows the limitations of his aircraft, I think it is as safe as any aircraft in general aviation, bar none. It's as safe. As far as training, you have to have training to fly these machines. They're easy to fly, but they've got different characteristics than heavier aircraft. They do peculiar things at peculiar times, but there's always a reason for it. And if you fly one of these long enough, you understand it. I've known a few people that said, I don't have to have a license, I don't have to have training, I can do this on my own. And there's a couple of them that's not here anymore. And that's a fact. And I hate to lose my friends, and I hate to see anybody that loves aviation like I do go out and get hurt for no apparent reason other than they didn't think they needed training. I've got one other pet peeve I'd like to spend a couple of minutes on. Helmets. A lot of it goes back to, you know, people don't like to be told what to do, and we have motorcycle people that say, you know, I can ride a motorcycle and I shouldn't have to wear a helmet if I don't want to. And flying an ultralight, you don't have to wear a helmet unless you want to. But I strongly recommend that everybody wear a helmet, and an approved type helmet approved by the Department of Transportation. These are basically motorcycle helmets, but they greatly improve your chances of survivability in case of an accident. And that's one of my pet peeves is I don't have to wear one, and you don't have to wear one, but I strongly recommend you do. I've already done my pre-flight, so I'm gonna... They're prop.